up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the second ever episode of the Guns and Cameras podcast. You know, sometimes we creatives, we get a little bit carried away, and we tend to take things way outside of the box, which can make some of us in the two-way industry a little bit uncomfortable. Well, let's just say our next guest is a master at taking things outside of the box, but keeping them well within our comfort zones in the two-way industry. And he lives that prime life. For him, it's prime life or die. That's what I'm trying to do today. I'm out here, got my stogie, mowing my lawn, and hey, we spend all the money on this stuff. We might as well enjoy it once in a while. But I digress. That said, let's get into the episode, shall we? Shooters, are you ready? Stand by. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Guns and Camera podcast. I'm Joshua Best, your host, and today we have who I am calling the Thomas Kinkade of the 2A photography and videography world, Mr. Mitchell Miller, also known as Mitcheller on Instagram. Mitch, thanks for being on the show today. Stoked to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me on here. It's cool. Man, about me, at the moment, I'm very tired.
So tell us why you're tired, Mitch.
I think when you're a content creator in this world, you're kind of constantly on the hunt for the next big shoot or next cool photo or cool video or something. And I think it's hard to sit back and just kind of relax with what you've already done and what kind of life you already have and just enjoy that for even just a day or two.
Yeah.
Because so many people that do this type of stuff, taking pictures, not even just in the gun industry, that just do social media for a living, it never stops. It's your brain is kind of always going on what the next photo or video could be. So at the moment, I'm tired, but also excited. Because I've just moved. I lived in Colorado for about 5 years, and I moved there. That was like my dream state. I wanted to live there so bad. Because I grew up in Illinois originally. I lived there for 24 years.
Wow.
Finally escaped Illinois. Never really went to school or anything. I was kind of an idiot. ADHD, like can't pay attention in class, none of that crap.
Yeah.
Well, my parents took us on a vacation to Colorado for the first time when I was like 15 or 16. Can't remember exactly how old I was. I had a driver's permit though, so I was 15 or 16, and changed my life completely. A huge life-changing moment, seeing a mountain, being from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I know people from the West could care less, but when you are not from the West, you will move there when you finally see it. So spent the next however many years of my life trying to figure out how to move out there with no degree or anything, and eventually did, and then I just left and moved to Phoenix. So that's been my life for the last 4 months or so. I've kind of lost track of time a little bit here, but we left Colorado sort of abruptly. Got a cool job offer down here, and trying to pick up the pieces from where I left off in Colorado. So a lot of things that I'm sad about that I left, but so much to be excited for too now that I'm here. So
Yeah, such is change, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So here's going to be our off-the-cuff icebreaker. If you were famous, what would your stage name be and why?
Uh, you told me not to censor myself. The only one that I have that comes to mind would be a porn name. I'd be Bitch Filler instead of Mitch Miller.
That's that's a good one. Well done.
That's all I got.
That's okay. Excellent. Yeah. Well. All right. Let's go. Let's dive into your first camera. So what was your first camera, and do you still have it?
Oh, I believe I do have my first camera. It was a Kodak, little waterproof camera that looked like a BlackBerry cell phone.
Cool.
When they used to have like keypads on them, it's kind of like that orientation of a screen up there, and you held it upright like a phone today. And it was waterproof, and I had taken that with me so many places, and it was really cool because it was easy to just carry around. But we would go.
was it a digital one? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, it was digital. It was more of a video camera than it was a stills camera.
Cool.
Kind of like a GoPro before GoPros were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had taken that with me to my best friend had a boat in Illinois. Or his family had a boat, and we were going to their lake house, and I kind of wanted to document that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun, but I was so just disappointed in the quality. And at that time, I was kind of like just wanting to record more things that I was getting to go do because we're starting to travel a little bit more, see more outside of where I grew up, and all those things were new to me, and I wanted to remember that well. And then I'd look back on the footage and be like, it just doesn't look good. And then I
you
think
cared. You had an eye for what you liked and disliked right off the bat.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess I was just kind of a snob right away. So, yeah, maybe that's because my dad was big into how good our TV looked.
Right. Oh yeah.
He bought a Sony TV, and I remember thinking that looked so great. And he was like, "This is the best TV," and I was like, "You're right. This looks amazing."
So that was your
and
standard for imagery.
maybe it was.
Do you remember how old you were when you had that camera?
I got it younger than 15. Had to be younger than 15. I did not have my license yet. So,
So early.
yeah, it was pretty early. But I just remember being so disappointed in it, in the quality. And then immediately after that, I don't know if you're shooting on Sony now, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's I immediately switched over to Sony then, that long ago. So, gosh, I couldn't remember what year that is, but this is long before the Alpha series, or it was I think one of the very first E mount cameras, and before it was called E mount, they called it NEX,
Mm-hmm.
and there was something called NEX VG20, which took like the older Sony video batteries that looked like a big brick.
Yep.
Forget what the letter that came before it was, but they had this big brick battery that would plug into the back of them like the camcorders. And it had like a camcorder style handle and grip, and the controls were all like a flip out screen like a camcorder and everything. And it had a top handle which had like a nice microphone on it and everything. And but it just on the front of it had an APS-C sensor and an E mount. For maybe this was like 2015 or 14 or something about that time, and that thing was $2,000. And so I went from this little, probably $200 Kodak camera to a $2,000 video camera because I thought I would just document all these things.
So, all right. So since you're saying that, this is kind of a new thing, and this is not meant to embarrass you. This is to make you feel good about yourself. I promise. I have your Instagram page up right here, and we're just going to go all the way back to the very first post you ever made. and we're gonna take a look, and I'm gonna ask you if that was made by that camera. So let's see here. I'm gonna share my screen.
Oh Lord.
Window entire
It's
screen.
probably a phone.
Yeah. All right. So here's your Instagram. Let's go blow this up. And then we're going to come back. Right after this, don't worry, we're going to save it. So right after this, we're going to go up to your latest post. So we're going to go your first way down here. Look at this.
Oh, my dog.
It's your dog. So cell phone.
Definitely a cell phone.
Yep. 6 likes.
This is,
2012.
that is 100% a Instagram filter. I don't know anything at this point.
Yep.
As you could tell.
So let's look at your next one. Oh, look at this. Headbutting a Buick. Is that a Buick? Looks like a Buick. Or
It looks like a
Cadillac.
Buick, yeah.
Nice. What's your comment here?
I probably still have the same fashion sense.
COD. Nice.
Yeah, that was a community college
Okay.
that I attended for like a year.
Right on.
Uh,
A lot of cars. We're just gonna kind of just scroll through your history here. So a lot of cars. Oh, there's a selfie. Brakes, Jeeps,
big Jeep
big
guy.
Jeep guy. Yeah. All right, let's scroll through. All right. Well, and then you get into I think what just about every photographer who's starting out does, which is the
Long
long
exposure.
exposures and macros. Looks like we got some nature stuff.
You're right about that. When I kind of figured out shutter speed
Yep.
and where I lived, it wasn't really anything interesting to look at. And so light painting
Mm-hmm.
was instantly pretty interesting and kind of helped to grow into a newer understanding of how cameras work.
Yep. And what's kind of cool, and this is a practice I think that we don't do enough as photographers, is go back and just see how far you have come, right? Because you can kind of see bits like of kind of what your current style is with again using light, macro stuff, your framing, right?
No, I think that's about when I figured out what the clarity slider did.
Yeah, that's yet another part of the photographer's journey is the clarity slider. We should really write a book about just like the stages of photography because we almost all go through the same learning experience, right? Of getting to know your camera, getting to know your settings, and then finally to kind of developing your personal flavor, right? So now we get into some
Yeah.
portraits, right? A lot of macro, which I love. I dig macro stuff. Oh, here's a gun. So this is the first gun. So let's talk guns here real quick. What was your first time shooting? First, have you been around guns your whole life, or how did that?
No. I didn't really come from a gun family. It took a while to get my family sort of more warmed up to guns. I was always like into like shooter video games and stuff like that. Kind of just a shithead kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's like a Call of Duty kid. Um, and it was hard to walk into gun stores and stuff because I was really self conscious that like the salespeople and employees would just be like, "Oh, this is just some punk kid that plays Call of Duty and thinks he knows everything about guns." And I always wanted to like not come off that way, so I would overthink those interactions and not get too involved. And being in Illinois too, the laws are really restrictive
Yeah.
there, and so my first time shooting a gun, oh my gosh.
So shooting. This is the fun part of guns and cameras, right? Shooting, taking a photo of a gun, or shooting, pulling the trigger of a gun. I'm
Oh,
talking about pulling the trigger on a gun. First time I ever shot one.
yeah, yeah.
But
That's okay. I knew what you meant. Yeah,
I just wanted to
actually
clarify.
firing a gun first time. I think it was with my dad at a range called, I think it was called JR Shooting Sports
Okay.
in Naperville, Illinois. And I think that's where we bought our first gun as well. Well, that is definitely where we bought our first gun. It was a Springfield MR. I'll forget it now, but it was like during the Clinton election
Hmm.
time when everybody thought Hillary Clinton was going to win and Trump won, so it's somewhere around 2016, and they were going to ban 20 round magazines and stuff. So we went to go shoot a couple pistols there, and I shot an M9. I think was the first gun that I shot.
A
Like a
Beretta? Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
and loved it. So,
I have yet to meet
um,
somebody who has not loved shooting guns after actually shooting them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know too many people either that don't love
Yeah.
it, or at least don't come away with a smile.
Right.
You know, it's an exhilarating experience.
Cool.
But
So then it goes from, and this is right about, looks like we're just going to jump back in here. So we have, it looks like a Luger earlier on
yeah,
to,
that's with my really good friends back in
yeah. And
Illinois.
then we got Air Show. And then all of a sudden it's like, I think this is right about when I started following you guys, is when we got some of the light painting here.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
that post, that little shotgun down there. That's like right when I started to work at Triple J
mhm,
Armory.
yeah,
I had just gotten a job there, and I think the caption on that was "My life has become guns" or
it has,
something,
yep.
and that's
My life
pretty
has
accurate.
become guns.
So,
Yeah, because right after that, it's like, we start to see the transition from the macro kind of nature stuff to all of a sudden, like straight up tactical, right? Like, look here, look at this, right? You go, you go
yeah.
from Jeeps to guns, which is, dollar for dollar, probably pretty close, in hobby land, but,
Yeah,
um,
it's hard to support them both though.
right, right.
So,
Um,
you should just pick one. Pick off-roading or shooting. Don't try both. You'll never be happy.
right, right, exactly. So let's dive into Triple J. So up until this point, right? So you shot your first gun, you've got your first gun. Then all of a sudden it's like boom, you're at Triple J, and it just goes full throttle into guns, right? So what was one? How'd you hear about the job? Let's talk about that. Unpack that a little bit for us.
Oh, yeah, it is interesting. I was working at a camera store. Really, most of my jobs
Hmm.
were camera store or sales related.
Right on.
From Illinois on, that's how I got to move to Colorado. Was there was a camera store there called Englewood Camera.
Hmm.
If you live in Colorado, you should go there. I still think they're the best camera store I've ever been to. I love those guys. Um, Great place. The owner of that store is so genuine. Uh, and I really hated to leave that place, but during COVID, they just couldn't stay open when a lot of the shutdowns happened,
Hmm.
and we all got laid off, and I drove for Amazon for like 6 weeks and hated my life. And me and a really good friend that both worked at the camera store kind of reopened that store a little bit in a limited capacity, but I still needed like a real job.
Hmm.
And so a little after 2020, I think it was like 2021 or January of 2021 or something. I'm like starving for cash at this point, trying to survive in Highlands Ranch where we lived in Colorado, which I really loved that area and I wanted to stay, but prices kept going up.
Hmm.
Inflation was getting really bad. Um, and so I was looking for a more stable job. And at that moment, I was trying to sell prints, which I still have never done. And there was a store in Denver that was a really good printing place. And I was kind of in talks with them about how to streamline that process. And like a week later, that store just closed. And I was like, well, so there goes my printing option. And literally on the way back, and I lived across the street from Triple J Armory.
Hmm.
On the way back from finding out that that store, the printing place was closing down, I was like, I'm just gonna go into that gun store and see if they have this little 22 lever gun that I've been sort of interested in. Because ever since I moved out west, I just really wanted to like sit outside and plink like tin cans with a little lever
Yep.
gun, just like literally like Western fantasy. Um, and I went in there because we didn't really have like great gun stores in Illinois. There wasn't a place to like check stuff like that
Yep.
out, and so um, I was looking just for a job, and I talked to the manager there, and I said, "Hey, are you guys looking for any kind of help? Because I live across the street. I don't have any real like gun sales experience or even a lot of shooting experience for that matter. But if you need help with taking pictures, I got you." And it turned out they just did. They really needed a guy to do uh, photos for them, and but it took a few tries to go back in there to get them to call me back.
Yeah.
So, um, and I just did not think that that job even existed at the time. I didn't know there was like a big social media presence for the firearms world. Like my Instagram feed at that point was like Jeeps and
Yep.
planes. I was always into guns, but I didn't know there was this whole community of people that really brought an artistic vision to like the tactical world and the civilian side of things. So um, yeah, just so eye-opening life change when I got hired over there, and it really I loved that job.
Yep.
It was really really nice. That was the first time I had been hired to be a photographer, other than shooting like some weddings here and there, but like as a full-time job,
So,
just to take
so up
photos.
until this point, you had been working at a camera store, and photography and or video was just kind of a hobby, passion project, or were you? I mean, besides the weddings and stuff, or
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I had always um, it's still kind of a hobby.
Mhm.
The stuff that I really like to shoot, I don't. I'll never get paid for. So,
Right.
like I love landscapes and air shows, and that's if I could have it my way, I would just shoot that
Mhm.
for the rest of my life. But um, yeah, I really got into like teaching photography when I was working at those jobs, like doing little classes to help somebody who's never picked up a camera before, um, learn just like basic fundamentals
Mhm.
to now use a camera effectively so they can stop wasting their time with their cell phone.
Right. 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 Exactly.
So,
So now here we are, right? So now we're back up to your latest posts, right? And I would say at this point in your Instagram photo journey, you've nailed down kind of your flavor, right? One of the cool things I love about your work, Mitch, is one, like I said earlier, I introed you as what I think is the Thomas Kinkade of the 2A gun photo world, which I think is pretty accurate, right? Because your work has always consistently been, especially what I've seen in the gun stuff, light has been the star for the most part. I mean, the guns look good, right? But your flavor with lighting is what really makes them pop, right? Colorways, the way you treat the photos. So, tell me a little bit about how you like for like I mean this picture. Like how do you, so where do you I was going to ask you where do your concepts come from, right? Because you guys, the stuff I've seen come out of Triple J, your work is stuff that is so not what the rest of the community is doing when it comes to concepting, right? Like when you're like, hey, we're gonna take this picture, we're gonna throw an old TV, we're gonna put SpongeBob up there or a Squidward, right? Ramen noodles, extension cord. I mean, how do you when you guys start to plan a shoot or you plan something? Because a lot of these, like even these, right? Skateboards and guns, right? Nobody else was doing that, and then all of a sudden there's Master Chief or Dead Spartan. I mean,
you know, the thought process, I'd say there's like three or four ways that shoots come together. Um, One of them, for me, I listen to a lot of movie soundtracks and video game scores and stuff like
mm-hmm,
that. And for some real, like, less silly stuff, like more dramatic scenes, that helps me get in the mood to kind of picture with the tools that I have and the locations that I have what type of photo I'd like to do.
mm-hmm,
The funny stuff, almost like the wacky shit, like the TV with Squidward on it, almost always comes from uh, being around other people that are just really good friends, right?
Yep.
So when I was that photo with the TV was when I was working at Swamp Fox Optics actually, and I was working with Doug and Court and Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug is hollow pointed on Instagram, and Court is Cortland on Instagram, and Tyler is Pew City, and Tyler's like probably 50% of my pictures on Instagram. He's just a really good model. So, and he would always put up with my bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
and just trusted me a lot. So uh, with those guys, I could just riff off just stupid shit. We would just be just bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Not really talking about photography, just saying stupid shit to each other, just hanging
Yep.
out, and then all of a sudden you just kind of latch on to one of those things that somebody said, and be like, I might be able to take a picture of that. And with the amount of experience all of us had, there was almost always a way
Mm-hmm.
to put something like that together. So um, bouncing ideas off of others is really, really powerful. And a lot of what I've shot is thanks to that. And like just talking with my girlfriend or my mom, even, just ideas will just come up when I talk to them about what I'm doing, and they'll say from a totally outside perspective, not they're not a photographer or they're not in the tactical world, but they'll be like, it's funny, that makes me think of this, or that makes me think of something else, and then it's kind of up to me on the technical side to find a way to put those two things together.
Right.
And so I do take a lot of inspiration from just having fun with friends and family and stuff.
Well,
So
you're doing it very well, and I know I if I ever need concepts, I usually come look at your stuff and go, okay, what's Mitch doing, and what can I either try to copy or rip off. So thanks for that. But well, okay, so real quick before we move on, we got your stuff up here. Of the stuff I've been scrolling through, which project is probably one that stands out to you the most? One of your favorites, if you had to pick.
I think my favorite gun photo has got to be that drone one that I've got pinned at the
At the
top.
top, this one right here.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever really done something that I felt like hadn't been done
Hmm.
in terms of the format.
Yeah, let's go through
Uh,
here. This is great.
and maybe that's an aggressive way to say it. I'm sure there's tons of photos that are composited like this. But in the gun industry, I felt like I hadn't really seen this type of thing before, so I felt really proud of that one because it's just I I didn't get this from like something I saw on somebody else's page or something like
Right.
that. And um, I do that too, right? Like I take inspiration from other people, just like a lot of everybody
Yep.
does. But this one I felt really, really proud of because there was no. This was such a like light bulb moment. I was walking out of the office at Triple J and was like, and this whole image straight up just kind of popped into my head, and this is maybe one of the only photos that I've been able to make it look almost exactly like I thought of it
Cool.
in my head.
Cool.
So um, I really, really like that one, and I thought it came out great. The only thing some of the stuff that I know now, I think I could have done a little bit better because this was a while ago.
Yep.
Um, but like the background's not as smooth as I want it to be, and some other little details here and there. I think I could do better at this now, but I still am just really, really proud of
Yeah,
that
this is
one.
great. I agree. What's it say? Is this FAA? What does it say?
The FAA is texting this guy saying, "Can you not?"
Can you not? Sweet. Awesome. Was this you, or did you have somebody else model for you?
Oh no, that's my coworker at Triple
Right
J.
on.
So
Um,
patient.
yeah. So, all right.
That took me like 3 days to put
Yeah,
together.
sweet.
So
Well, and it's good.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that because I think that is one misconception I run into all the time with some of the photos that we create is the lack of understanding on just how quickly it takes to put, or not how quickly, but how much time it takes to put something like this together. One, just shooting it, but then also the compositing, right, and processing of the image, right. Yeah, it looks awesome, dude. Did you print you printed this out, right? You got a big print of this somewhere?
No, I
Put that
know.
on your list,
I
bro.
gotta
Put it on your list.
I know I gotta do that.
Um, Sweet. So let's move on here. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out really quick. Stop sharing. Pretty fun, kind of looking back and seeing how far you've. I would hope that you look back just even in that and you feel like, man, like I've come a long way.
Yeah, from headbutting Buicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on. I got so many. We could. I mean, I could ask you about your stuff all day long. But how? Let's move on. What's in your? What is right now? What's in your camera bag?
Um, I guess I could just grab it. I'll just grab
Yeah,
it.
do it.
I should probably give a small. I'm not like a gear reviewer, but we're all addicted to
Uh huh.
bags, and I've stuck with this bag for a good amount of
Right.
time. The Think Tank
Yep.
backstory. It's a good. It's a good bag.
Sweet.
So I've had it for a while. Um, it's comfortable on my skinny, bony back with all this weight, and I like that it flips. This is kind of like a stupid thing, but I love bags that open from the
Mm-hmm.
back, like where it's attached to your back, where it sits on your back, because then you lay it down in the dirt or the mud
Mm-hmm.
or something, and you just
You don't
don't
you don't get
you
dirty.
don't get it filthy.
Yep.
So, and we do that a lot. We're constantly out on like shooting ranges, and it's usually pretty fucking dusty and gross. And so keeping all your gear clean is nice, not necessary, but nice.
Yep.
Um, all right. Well, I'll start from the bottom. I have a 24 mil Sony f1.4, their G Master line,
Nice.
and on there, which everyone should have this, is a Tiffin Pro
Mm-hmm.
Mist
Yep.
filter. Kind of a cheat code in the photography world, but um, get
Yep.
one and then just also get super glue, put it on the threads, and then put it on your lens and just forget about it.
For those of you if you're watching this and you don't know what that means, if you want, it's best to try to capture texture and grain in camera. Promise are great at doing that, but they also make just it. What it does to the light is magical. Let's just leave it at that.
It's great. I do. I do take them off in the middle of the day
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because if they work best with small light sources, and a lot of backlighting looks really good with the mist filter. But when you shoot with the sun, with the direction of the sun, with a mist filter, the light that reflects back is so intense sometimes that it just kind of washes out the whole photo.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you can do whatever you want, and if you like that, then go for it. I've got a 135 mil f1.8
Sweet.
from Sony, also G Master. A 100 to 400. That one I'm not in love with, but I'm still trying to figure out what a good long lens option is. Kind of tough,
Mm-hmm.
but and then a Sony A7 IV, which I'm also not crazy about, and then my very favorite thing, the Sony 50 mil f1.2 G
Sweet.
Master. So, and then some cleaning stuff, a little bag I got from Eddie Bauer.
Yep.
that just has batteries, cleaning spray, and some little screwdrivers for things, rubber bands, little brushes, and microfiber cloths. So kind of always need that.
Mm-hmm.
And a flash trigger
Sweet.
for when I need to use flash. So that's pretty much it. And then a couple other like polarizers
Mm-hmm.
and ND filters and stuff, which are pretty boring. And stepping rings.
Yep.
Those come in handy a lot.
Stepping rings are
Uh,
useful.
and a little, very small speed light, a little flash
Cool.
that isn't that powerful, but if you want to backlight
Mm-hmm.
stuff randomly, it's just nice to always have it on you. Usually I carry, or with shoots, I'm working with a lot of strobe lights
Mm-hmm.
that are bigger than
Mm-hmm.
that. But when you can't bring a bunch of strobe lights and have C stands and soft boxes and stuff, at least you can backlight some
Yep.
things with a little speed light on the ground. So that's pretty much it. That's what's in there
That's
most of the
that's
time.
so. You know what I find interesting? You're one of the first guys I've talked to in a long time that runs, with the exception of the 100 to 400 like you're all fixed focal length lenses.
Prime life or die. And to be fair, this thing never sees any other range between 100 to 300. It pretty much just this. I only carry this thing around to shoot it at
Mm-hmm.
400, so you can almost call this a prime.
So,
Because if I'm gonna shoot at 100, I have the
right.
135, which is way better, and that's why I'm not. The prime version of this is like
Mm-hmm.
$13,000. So if I need a 400 mil focal length, this is
That's
kind of
probably
my only
the most
affordable.
affordable solution for your
Yeah,
dilemma.
yeah, the only realistic thing I can carry around, and it does fit in the
Mm-hmm.
bag. Prior to that lens, I had the 200 to 600, and I'm still undecided on if I liked that one more or less than this 100 to 400. This one in particular has a much better close focus distance than the 200 to 600 did, but it does have it telescopes out
Yep.
the barrel,
Yep.
and I hate that
Yep.
because it's a giant vacuum for dust and
Mm-hmm.
debris, and I know you can just clone all that, but it's still annoying. Like if you shoot an air show and you're shooting planes against the
Mm-hmm.
sky, and every shot has the same spot in it, like, and then you got to go in and clean all that up. It sucks. So um, great lens optically, like really sharp, really fast to focus. The close focus distance I think is like the big hero on this
Mm-hmm.
one. It's like almost a macro lens at 400, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
The 600 was limited
Mm-hmm.
in that I had to be like 6 or 7 feet away or something to focus at 600. But the cool thing about that lens was the zoom was all internal, and so it just felt more robust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I don't know. I don't know if I kind of miss it. I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine it would
Just
be hard because
maybe
I
it.
like shooting. So I haven't had a chance. I've been shopping some longer zoom lenses, right? I've been my zoom that I carry with me every time is just the 70 to 200,
Mhm.
which I've been happy with. But I've, for times where I'm shooting, like if I'm in the mountains, I'm doing hunting stuff, it'd be nice to have something that I
Mhm.
could punch in a little bit tighter. And I really like not having a telescoping lens, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But I don't really want to commit to having to pack around a 600, right? Because it's a big lens.
Well, pretty recently that Sigma came out with a 500 5.6
Mm-hmm.
prime. That's like 3 grand, and I've been looking at that
Mm-hmm.
because it's supposed to be. I think it's about this size, like well, like pretty much fully collapsed. I think it's about that
Yeah.
big. I could be totally wrong. It might be a little bit bigger than that, but from what I've seen, it looks pretty compact. Like it would fit in most bags, and it's supposed to be pretty damn light too. And obviously not going to telescope at all because it's a prime. Um, the only thing that sucks is that it's
Right.
Sigma, and there's nothing wrong with Sigma glass. The image quality is great. and the contrast in those lenses is really good, actually, sometimes better than the Sonys. But the only issue that I've found with third-party lenses isn't a Sigma problem, just third-party lenses in general, is that with Sony cameras, a lot of the like intelligent autofocus modes just are like 80% reliable, versus like 99% reliable with the actual brand name Sony lenses. And they also will limit you on frame rates sometimes. Or not frame rates, frames per second continuous shooting rates. So if you had like the A9 or something and you wanted to shoot that as fast as it will let you, it will limit you on continuous autofocus if it's not like a Sony G Master lens, which is annoying. But if you just need like a really good looking lens, I mean, Sigmas are great. So,
I've never, again, aside from what you just mentioned with the autofocus stuff and some of the intelligent features, I've not had, I mean, again, whether it's even Zeiss, right? Some of the other options for glass. There are other options than Sony stuff, but I don't know. I feel like if I'm gonna spend the money, right, like $3,000, even if it is a good lens, I would prefer to spend that on a Sony lens just to have the additional features. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Or at least save up a little bit to be able to afford it, because that's, again, like for example, I have a whole bunch. I like using vintage glass, right? A lot of manual
Yeah.
focus lenses, whatever I can, just to get certain looks and flavors out of my cameras. But I never use them for professional work, because I'm like, if I'm in a bind, I need that lens to get the shot, and I have limited
Yeah.
opportunities to get it. So I pack all this
Yeah.
glass with me that I never roll with, because I always just end up using the Sony stuff. So
It's risky, man. It's risky when you're getting paid.
yeah,
And I think a lot of photos that I've done that I really like and that I think people hire me for, those were shoots where I'm not making any money. And so I had nothing to lose. And so I was getting risky with what's going on and how to take the photo. And then when you show up on a job and you're like, I'm not trying to be that
right,
reckless.
yeah, right. This episode is brought to you by 1156 Productions and Tokens of Valor. Tokens of Valor is an amazing company started by me. It's not really a company, it's more of a hobby really. But what I do is I take your spent brass or other collectibles that are sitting around on a shelf, and I pair them with sterling silver, and I turn them into fantastic, amazing wearables that inspire you to pursue courage, bravery, and confidence wherever you go. That said, we're out here halfway through the episode. We're trying to live our prime life. What that means is we're gonna try to take some pictures of me in this getup and emulate the amazing stylings of Mr. Mitchell Miller, who's our current guest. I hope you're enjoying the episode. We got the Canon Nifty 50 paired with a Sony a7 III body. We're gonna take some stills, see if we can capture his essence. But in the meantime, I'm just, blowing smoke. So let's get back into the episode. Yeah, exactly. Do you have a gun bag? What's in your gun bag? Do you have guns? Which guns do you have? What's your favorite?
I've got a ton of guns that I've rapidly acquired since joining this world of gun photographers. I don't have like a bag though. They're kind of we just moved,
So yeah,
so
yeah,
they're kind of
everything's
just all over
crazy.
the place.
So do you have do you have an everyday carry? Do you carry
I don't carry, but I probably will start to carry soon. I'm a big fan of that little new Flux Raider, the P365, with the little brace on it. I think that thing is so cool. And I think I'll probably carry that in a bag or something. And then once I find a good concealed carry pistol, which I just haven't had a lot of time to really figure out what pistols I like, I'll probably start carrying something. But it's just been not not something I've gotten done. which is a bad thing, but I just haven't done it.
No, so
So
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's
yeah,
just, when you're busy and you're in it, right? Well, and again, the thing is too,
yeah,
right? Is you're still, I'm not going to say you're new to it, but I mean, you still are, right? Like you're still kind of just getting
yeah,
into it,
definitely,
right? So
definitely still new. Yeah, I don't even have a holster, so all that stuff that
sounds like you got to start making some
most.
calls, bro, and get like, hey, remember that time I
I
shot your
know.
pictures? You got to hook me up with a holster, and they probably send you
Yeah,
something right away.
it's mostly like I as soon as I have money, I'm buying camera
Mhm.
gear and not really gun stuff. I've been really lucky. There have been a lot of people who have hooked me up with discounted and or just free um,
Mhm.
firearms. So I've been really lucky with that. And but like the actual gear
Mhm.
to utilize those guns, I just haven't invested in because I've been so busy trying to figure out how to carry cameras around
Mhm.
and not, which is a whole separate world,
Yep.
right? Like, what's my daily camera carry? That's well
Right.
established. But my gun situation is, even when I go to a range just on my own for
Mhm.
fun and not taking pictures, it takes me like 4 hours to get ready.
Yeah. It's a lot to
So,
carry, and
you know,
that's something that again, well, camera gear is the same way, right? Like for me, when you're just starting out, it's a lot of time and energy goes into research, buying products, trying the products, seeing if they work in your flow, and if they don't, they got to go, right?
hmm
That can take years. Gun stuff's the same way, right? So unless you're making the time to go train and shoot and like kind of figure out how you want to run your stuff, whether it's concealed carry, running from a belt, plates, whatever, all of that takes time to develop and money, right? Because you everybody might be crazy about this certain plate carrier that you put on, and then you're like, I really don't like it. It doesn't work for me, right? It's a
yeah,
$300 plus investment that you're gonna have to try
yeah.
to turn over, right? So no,
hmm
I mean it's not. I'm stoked for you because as you continue to grow in the industry, you got so much stuff to look forward to, right? Like,
Yeah.
so there you go.
There's some cool guns out there though. Big, like I said, that little Raider thing, that I like
Yep.
that. It's kind of
Real quick,
cool.
what's been your favorite gun to not take a picture of, but actually run to date, if you had to pick one?
Oh, my favorite gun is definitely the M1 Garand,
Classic.
without hesitation. And I have one, and it's a July 1941.
Wow.
So just before Pearl Harbor. Um, well, the receiver is
Hmm.
anyway. It's rebarreled in like 55, I think, and the stock, who knows. But that is one of my most like prized possessions because that was like my dream
Yep.
gun. Getting into all this and not have one, and I'm like, I'm
So
set.
have you shot it? You run rounds through it?
I have shot it. Yeah, I think there's a small
Good for you.
issue with
Good for
it. I've
you.
talked to a
Good for
couple.
you. A lot of guys don't.
Really?
Dude, you
I
know how
think
many
like
people I know that go out and buy some of their favorite guns and they'll buy them and they'll just stick them in in the safe and they will never shoot them.
yeah, I don't get that. Well, okay. I can understand if you bought something really
Hmm.
historical. Like I do have a Walther P38
Hmm.
that my grandfather passed down to me from the war. Um, and I'm probably never going to shoot that because I just wanted to keep it the way that it
Hmm.
was when he handed it to me. Um, and I don't think he ever shot it, so I just wanted to keep it in that state. And like, it's a hammer fired 9 mil pistol, so I can imagine what it's like.
Well, and of course,
So,
there, and again, there's always the fear, like the day you do get, you're like, all right, I'm going to do it, that you go out, maybe something breaks, and it's not like you can just, get those
yeah,
replaced, right? So,
yeah. So I understand like historical meaning
mhm.
if something has a certain condition to it, not
True. I
firing
mean, the
it.
last
But
time that thing could have been fired was, who knows when.
yeah.
Um,
But man, if you bought like a Barrett 50 and you're just gonna set it on the shelf and look
no,
at
you got
it,
to take
what
that
the fuck
sucker
is
out
wrong
and
with
run
you?
it. Yeah, no kidding. All right. So, what has been? your biggest project to date professionally, if you could.
Biggest project. Well, the job that I started here in Arizona, I started working for a company called Offensive Marketing Group,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and they work with SIG. And I probably can't say much more than that.
Will we see it at the
But
next SHOT Show or sooner?
probably,
Probably.
I don't know. I have no idea. But working with them, I would say, just on a scale side of things, is probably the
Mm-hmm.
biggest. And so yeah, so and there's a lot of other projects like that I've done just on my
Mm-hmm.
own that or one that I really enjoyed lately was with
Mm-hmm.
Flux. It wasn't my project; they just kind of invited me to come help out, but I just had a lot of fun
Mm-hmm.
on it. So they did that ad for that P365
Sweet.
Raider that came out just like a week ago, and that was one of the more fun shoots I've ever been a part of. So just a cool commercial and definitely threw political correctness to the wind,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a big fan of that. So I really liked how that video and the whole shoot went down. That was really really fun.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. I love it. What's been your biggest? Have you had a what's been your biggest starstruck moment? Like, have you had a chance to work with any of the big? I mean, it sounds like a kind of a stupid, retarded question to ask, but what's been the biggest 2A or celebrity person that you've had a chance to work with or meet since you started?
um, hmm, I don't, I haven't worked with like a lot of super big names, but probably my favorite. Um, I really love Eli, the 1776 Duck.
Mm-hmm.
That guy cracks me the hell up. I think he's hilarious. Um, I also love 1911s,
Mm-hmm.
so all the shit he talks about anything but 1911s, I think is great. But he's also just a cool dude, really genuine guy. But when I first started, and I was kind of looking at like the whole Instagram community, I
Mm-hmm.
guess the like social media scene for guns. I really liked um, Black Canyon Systems
Okay.
stuff, just because I was kind of into Western movies and I didn't know what the whole grunge like gun scene
Mm-hmm.
was, but I just liked their style and what they had. And I met Colton very early on at a range day when I was working at Triple
Mm-hmm.
J, and I didn't really know anybody at that time. I was just getting started with this whole like
Mm-hmm.
scene, and but that he was just like super nice to me, and really easy to get along with. And I think we've got like a similar sense of humor,
Nice.
and we both like the same type of imagery and stuff like that. And I'd say he's one of my favorite people that I've gotten to shoot with and work with. And I consider him sort of famous, I guess. Uh, I did meet Micah very briefly um, at a SHOT Show
Mm-hmm.
party, and that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Mike is a
But
neat dude.
yeah,
He's a neat dude. He's yeah, he's a character. Neat dude. But that's awesome, dude. We're gonna move right along because we're pushing time here, but it's great. So I'm happy to stick around as long as you're happy to stick around.
yeah, I don't mind. I got
Um,
nothing going on.
so this next one is kind of like one of the big questions because we all have one of these moments, right? They can be good, they can be bad, can be both, right? If you have two, that's fine. But what has in your career to date been your oh shit moment, good or bad?
Moving to
Moving to
Phoenix.
Phoenix, okay.
Yeah, I fucked up.
It can't be. I mean, it is a pretty.
It's not that bad. It was just it's very I moved out of Illinois in 2019.
So probably the right time. You
January
dodged a
of
bullet with the whole COVID thing moving out of probably.
well, I mean, it was January of 2019, so there was some time um coming up to March of 2020,
Hmm.
right? And moving pre-economic collapse wasn't so bad, and I also just didn't have that much shit. I didn't have like an established life. I was just leaving my parents' house with what I could
Yep.
fit in my car, and it still costs a lot of money to do it, but nowhere near what it cost to move from Denver to
Hmm.
Phoenix. Just the hidden costs of moving
Dude.
just fucked me up.
Yeah, man. That's why
So,
I would
um,
love to get out of Washington State, but it's just not. It can't do it. Can't afford it, right? And even the
yeah,
opportunities can't be because that's the thing is again, it is the hidden costs, right? It's
yeah.
man,
I was ignorant. I just thought, oh, I've done this. I did this just 5 years ago. It was fine. No,
not.
man. That was not. I have no qualms with Arizona. Arizona's
Hmm.
great. Um, but it's just been hard to like just. I've described this a couple times, but it was like stopping a
Hmm.
train because you have your whole life uh, running and established, and you just know where everything is
Hmm.
and uh, how to solve every problem where you live and where to go when you do have problems.
Hmm.
And as soon as you move somewhere, especially when you don't have like that many friends or family in that area, or I have like just a few friends here, and only one that I like really know well.
Hmm.
and and Phoenix is also just huge, so much bigger than I thought it
Yeah,
was
big area.
compared to Denver. And like this has been tough. It's getting better for sure, but it's just been a very every step seems to have a lot of friction. So, just a slow process.
Yeah,
But
cool.
that's my oh moment is wow, I really put my life on a serious hold way longer than I thought it would.
Yeah. Well, the kind of the cool thing for you though is like again going back to how quickly you've come into this industry, right? Going from moving to Colorado, working to Triple J, now moving to getting a job at Offensive Marketing Group and moving forward with that. I mean, that's a rapid. You kind of jumped onto this track and now you're ripping down this track, right? That's quite a few big life changes in a relatively small amount of time. And it's all wild and
That's
exciting,
true.
but yeah, it takes a toll, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely not used to it.
Yeah, but you're in a good community. There's a lot of the cool thing. Again, I'm stoked for you. I'm excited to see where you go with this because, I mean, again, Colorado, Denver has got a great community, but even in Phoenix, right, you're plugged into so much industry there, right? So as long assuming you're staying in or planning to stay in the two-way content creation world, a lot of opportunity. I'm sure you will have no problems growing a network quickly.
I
So
I think once you're in it, it's hard to get out. Um, you
yeah.
know, then I do genuinely just really care for the people
Mhm.
involved because uh, I would say one of the best things about working with gun industry people, and I think it's a lot of negativity at the moment with this industry right now, and I get that, and there's definitely things I complain about too, but as a whole, there's so many good people that do care about you and constantly reach out and want to know how you're doing
Mhm.
and are just kind of good good people that uh, carry good values. And so, even you reaching out to me to come on this interview is just really flattering. So, a lot of that, I never had anybody care about what I did prior to doing this
Mhm.
and taking pictures of guns and stuff. So it means a lot just from the anybody who likes my work and stuff like that. It just makes me want to stay around.
Yeah, and
So,
that's a big reason why I'm doing this, right? Is because here's the thing. content creators in the gun industry, defensive industries, whatever, it's a very small group of people, right? The niche is, it's not as big of an industry as people think from the outside looking in, right? It's very tight knit.
Yeah.
But being a content creator inside of that is even a smaller community, right? Because I mean, again, there's not a lot of incentive to want to be in it, right? Because you're dealing with content. I mean, even on your profile picture here, if I scroll up, you got a big old sensor slapped across the front of your face, which is
Yeah.
that's the deal, man. I mean, that you cannot post a picture, a video, or whatever if it has any type of a gun, a knife, or what, like without some kind of suppression. And so, to want to put in the amount of effort we put into creating these pieces, especially some of your work, right? Only to have it be completely throttled or
Yeah.
removed, right?
Yeah.
Is kind of crazy, especially the quality of photographers, like the people I've been talking to, the people I follow, the people I meet. I mean, some outstanding. I mean, if you can shoot this stuff, right? Everything else in the commercial photography, videography world comes pretty easy, right? Because taking something, being able to change up styles, studio lifestyle, on fig, off fig, right? All of the stuff that's in this content, you know,
Mhm.
when applied to, let's say, fashion, right? Like if you were to go from shooting something like if you had a bunch of tacked out dudes and you're doing a photo shoot or whatever, and you're having to pose them and direct those guys, and then go from that environment to just working with a single solo model in like a dress or a, whatever, right? Fashion,
Mhm.
it would be easier to do fashion, right?
Especially when you're talking about
Right.
locations. That's probably the biggest challenge, is finding a place to go to take these
Yep.
photos and not get SWAT called on
Yep.
you.
Yeah, the amount of extra effort, right? Building relationships, right? Being able to get to a point where you can confidently call your local police department and be like, "Hey, yo, what's up? It's Mitch. I got to shoot at this location. I have permission. I'm going to have guys with guns. If you get calls." I
Mhm.
mean, that's something that's an extra step that, doesn't have to happen.
Yeah. I wish I was taking pictures of shoes, man.
Yeah, retirement, right? You can move into that. But again, here's the thing though, is we say that, and it's like once you start shooting this stuff though, once you get plugged in with the community, the people, the brands, the content, it kind of like you get hooked on it, right? It would be tough to go
Mhm.
back to just shooting shoes, and I'm sure you'd get bored real fast.
I don't know anything about
Dude, I
shoes.
don't know about
I've never
shoes.
shot them.
I'm not a sneakerhead, so I don't know anything about the shoes thing. Sometimes I poke my head out of the industry we're in, and I look around and I'm like, I'm just gonna go back because, uh, you know, the amount of things that people are into right now, and it's just crazy to me. I'd rather be into guns. So,
That's yeah.
so
It's a good place
so
to
what's
be.
next on the horizon for you? So obviously you're in Phoenix. You got offensive marketing group, but where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10?
Um, Man, I really hope to do more more cinematic
Mm-hmm.
video. I've always been into video. I've just never. The video is such a team
Mm-hmm.
sport. It's very hard to do that on your own, and it's nice to be part of a really good team right
Mm-hmm.
now where I work. But that's all for them. And I like working there, but on my own personal side, I'd love to start to hire
Mm-hmm.
people to help me do some projects that I think of, as opposed to me being hired to help other people do projects that they think
Mm-hmm.
of. So I'd love to do some more of that. Just not quite there yet. Not have like a good footing for that at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. I'll start small and grow from there. But other than that, I love Jeeps and off-roading, and the whole reason I moved out west was to do more off-roading, and I've just gotten my truck, my Gladiator truck, and I just can't wait to turn that into this overland
Yeah,
vehicle.
is this that's the
And
picture up here? I know we're not screen sharing. Is that the one with the snow picture? It looks like Colorado. Is that the Gladiator? Or do you?
Probably. I did take a picture of it in the
Yeah,
snow.
you look pretty happy,
Um,
so I'm assuming that's it. I'm sure. It
super stoked. That is the highlight of my
says
life at the
13 miles
moment.
per gallon, baby. That's yep. You're cruising.
Probably going to be less,
Yeah,
but
yeah. When you're done with it,
so,
yeah.
but yeah, I just fell in love with off-roading a long time ago,
Hmm.
and Jeeps specifically, and I
Um,
I look at Jeeps with a ton of emotion because my grandfather was in World War
hmm.
II, and I know modern Jeeps are just Fiats. Like I'm not nobody, you're not fooling anybody, but I still look at the front of it, and every time I do, I just think of my grandpa.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm like deeply connected to that, and the experience off road, going out to really remote places, is some of the happiest
It's it's
moments
hard.
for
It's hard
me.
not to fall in love with it. I spent some time in Moab in Utah when I was younger, and once you get plugged into it, it's kind of like, man, it's tough. If I could afford it, I'd do it more, but I can't right now. Um,
It's fucking expensive.
dude. But yeah, I mean, like I'll never forget living down there because it was like you'd go to a grocery store and all you hear everywhere is just the squeaking of rubber as these Jeeps try to turn with the locked rear differentials and all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
a unique sound, and you're like, oh yep. And you get out on you get out there in the desert and you start crawling, and it's a blast. So it's hard to explain unless you've had exposure to it, right? Uh,
Very
but
true.
no,
Yeah.
I get it, man. That's awesome. So let's see. Piece. We're gonna close this out here pretty quick here, but a couple more questions. What is a piece of advice or sage wisdom that you could give to up and comers, or if there's a something you wish you had known that might have been helpful when you first started out? Lay it on us, man.
Um, Advice. I've got like I would say, if people, you should listen to everybody that teaches you something about
Hmm.
photography, but you should also forget it, uh, and just do whatever the fuck you want. It is so okay to just ignore what somebody tells
Mm.
you, and even what I'm saying now. If you just want to follow all the rules and do it that way, that's probably great. But uh, you can just ignore shit sometimes. And I see a lot of people get like real attached, especially in the video
Hmm.
scene. This might be looked at as bad advice, but you know, so many people will look at the back of my screen and be like, "Why is your shutter speed so high when you're shooting
Hmm.
video?" And I'm like, "Because I don't have fucking 10 stop ND on me, and I still want good bokeh. I don't know. I don't really care about the motion blur in this moment, you know?
Hmm.
So you can just break rules, and don't don't get too attached to the guidelines that everybody puts out. And that's just a good way to have happy accidents and find out a new way to shoot stuff. So and I guess something I would say to a new shooter to help them out. I follow like three rules myself, and it goes: move your ass. So when you're on a shoot, just move around. Like, just don't stand in one
So that's
spot.
is that
Don't
rule number
stand
one? So
up.
rule number one, move your ass.
Rule number one: move your ass. Up, down, left, right, all over. Get on the ground. Get up above the ground. Just change your
Hmm.
perspective. If you're fucking up and you're like, these pictures suck, just move. Um, and Then turn around is number two, um, which kind of goes with number one. But this is how I say it to myself. I say, move your ass, turn around, and get on the ground. If your foreground sucks, get rid of it by getting
Hmm.
low. And a lot of times the foreground
Hmm.
sucks because there's not always pretty shit right in front of you. So it's usually just a street or dirt or grass. And if it doesn't look that interesting, just fucking get rid of it. So yeah, a lot of movement, and that goes into primes,
Hmm.
right? If you shoot with zooms too much, you get a little lazy and just rely on the lens to frame things for you. I think you open yourself up to seeing more perspectives and seeing more frames by not being able to zoom. And that sounds really pretentious, and I get it, but I I do believe in
No,
that.
man, that's some of the best
So,
advice I've heard in a long time for people starting out, right? Like, because that is, yeah, man, what was it? The other day I was getting sick. I'm part of some Facebook groups, right, for camera users and all that. And what I was scrolling through the other day, and I was like, man, I got so irritated because I kept seeing questions from new camera owners that are like, what are the best settings for my camera, right? Or what's the best way to do this? And I just wanted to reply like, and again, usually I'm pretty easygoing dude, and I like to help people and I like to teach, right? But so I just wanted to reply and be like, you know what? Take your camera out and just go find out, right? Like, don't
yeah,
just wait for somebody to hand it to you. Go figure out what the settings do. Mess around, screw up, like figure it out for yourself. Don't just keep, because that's one of the things I think right now for creators is the constant just like again the YouTube tutorials of like this is the best setting. Like I don't know how many videos I've seen like
yeah,
the best settings for your camera, and it basically hands you like you know the safest level of this will get you a good picture no matter what, pretty much, but doesn't
yeah,
give people the ability to do what you're talking about, which is move around, like get low.
yeah,
I love that you use fixed focal length lenses, because I can remember some of my best work has come out of situations where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to pack one lens, right? I'm going to pack one fixed length, and almost always it's the 50 mil, right? I'm going to pack 150, and it's going to be manual, and that's the only thing I can use to shoot every picture. And again, those are for
yeah.
just my fun, like personal trips, usually not work related, but some of the
Right.
stuff.
That's terrifying to do that just for a
Yep,
work
but
trip.
some of the stuff that I've come away with that has been some of my favorite, like my favorite photos, my favorite videos have come from those scenarios. And so
Yeah,
lately, I've tried to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna man up, and I'm just gonna start doing that for work, right? Because if you
yeah.
want to stand out, you got to take risks sometimes. Right? So,
Well, I mean, when you give yourself a limitation, you put yourself in a
mhm,
box. The smaller that box, the easier it is to think outside of it.
exactly.
So
There you go.
if you force
You need to
yourself
put
to,
that on a t-shirt. The smaller, all of what you just said should be on t-shirts, man. So you should do those. All right. So really quick to wrap it up, who do you think out of your network or people should be on the Guns and Camera podcast next?
um, you should talk to Doug,
Doug,
hollow
hollow
pointed.
pointed.
Um, he's he's got a great story too, and I think he's much more technical than I
Mm-hmm.
am. And really, really detail oriented. And there's a lot of ways that Doug shoots that I admire, and love to hear his perspective on how he approaches photography. And Doug is an emotional guy, so he'll tell you how it is.
Right on. That sounds awesome. Well, if you think of it and you want to, kind of give him a heads up, like reach out and be like, hey, bro, like expect to be notified by Josh from Guns and Cameras to maybe be on the show. That'd be great. But no
Sure,
pressure.
yeah.
If not, I'll just name drop you when I reach out. Sweet. So let's see. I don't think I have anything else to ask you. Thank you, Mitch, for being on the show. One, for not censoring yourself, being open, speaking truth. Right. Thank you for doing great work, man. I mean, again, I love your stuff. I love seeing people get creative with and have fun with the gun stuff, right? Because in our industry, as you know, you got everybody from the muy macho, like this is their, you do not go outside the box, to the people that are going
Mhm.
way outside the box. And I feel like you've got a
Yeah.
great mesh of the two. So thank you. Mitchell, thank you for being on the Guns and Camera podcast. This has been a great episode. I really appreciate your everything. You're awesome. How can people get a hold of you? If somebody wants to hire or work with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Um, Probably Instagram. Just DMing me on there, and I do a pretty good job at checking the requests folder because everything seems to flow in
Mm-hmm.
there. And I don't know, they don't want us talking to each other on that platform. So, but I pay attention to it. So
Sweet.
if you shoot me a DM on Instagram, I'll probably get back to you.
On. All right, you guys. This has been Guns and Cameras, the podcast. I'm Josh, your host. We just chatted with Mitch Miller for the last just over an hour. If you don't already follow him, I strongly encourage you to do so. Go check him out on social media. His Instagram handle is Mitcheller. It's spelled Mitcheller. Some of the best photos. We're looking forward, Mitch, to seeing what you come up with next. So thanks so much for being on the show. I'm going to hit the stop recording button now. So if you got some last words, throw them out there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun for me. So I can't wait to see who you talk to next, and I'll be listening.
Right on. Stay tuned, guys. Guns and Cameras. Have a great night. Well, we've been out here living our prime life for this whole episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Mitch is a fantastic dude, has mad skills, and like I said, no lie, I honestly believe that he's the Thomas Kinkade of the gun industry when it comes to content creation. We're out here, we lived our prime life. Here's some of the images that we came up with. Hopefully we captured the essence of Mr. Mitchell Miller, aka Mitcheller, on Instagram. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like, share, follow. You guys know the drill. Just do all the things, right? We really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and stay tuned for more because we got a lot more coming. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Again, I'm Josh, host of Guns and Cameras. I gotta go take this stuff off. It's getting heavy. Have a great evening, guys.